David's life just took a terrifying turn, and the streets are already talking about just how dangerous his future could be. A 15-year-old girl, a dismembered body, and a Tesla that became a crime scene, the kind of story that sounds ripped straight from a Netflix true crime doc. And now, David isn't just facing legal trouble. He's staring down a reality where every day behind bars could be a fight for survival. In this video, we're breaking down the shocking events, the connections that the internet uncovered, and why the jail system waiting for him is far more dangerous than most people realize. It all started on a seemingly normal September morning in 2025. Workers at a Hollywood impound lot were making their usual rounds when something hit them, a smell. At first, they thought it was just a dead animal or maybe trash left to rot. But the stench got worse, much worse. And when the LAPD was finally called to investigate, what they found inside a 2023 Tesla Model 3 registered to David Anthony Burke, better known as David, was far beyond anyone's worst nightmare. Inside the front trunk, or the frunk as Tesla owners call it, lay a bag containing the dismembered remains of a human being. Wrapped in plastic, severely decomposed, and unrecognizable at first glance, the body had clearly been dead for months. The Los Angeles heat had accelerated the decomposition, turning this discovery into something that shook the internet within hours. Who was this person? How did they end up here? And why was David connected? For over a week, the media exploded with speculation. Headlines screamed. Social media went into overdrive. While David was miles away on his world tour, his team issued statements claiming he had no idea anything was happening with the vehicle. But the story wasn't just about a car. It was about timing, coincidence, and a trail that would soon unravel a much darker picture. And then, 9 days later, the unimaginable happened. The victim was identified, 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, missing for over a year. A child who vanished at 13, now found dead in the car of one of the fastest rising stars in music. The identification revealed a disturbing detail, a tattoo on her right index finger, identical to one David had. Not just a coincidence, it was a connection that lit up social media, raising immediate red flags and sending fans and internet sleuths into a frenzy. This discovery wasn't just shocking, it was the first domino to fall in what would become one of the most intense and disturbing investigations the music world had ever seen. And for David, the nightmare was only beginning. Once Celeste's body was identified, the investigation didn't just stay in the real world, it spread like wildfire online. Digital breadcrumbs began revealing a chain of unsettling connections. Years of online activity slowly painted a picture of David's interactions with younger fans, and none of it looked good under the spotlight. It started with a leaked demo track titled Celeste Demo, which had been circulating in underground music communities since late 2023. The lyrics were haunting, almost prophetic, singing about a girl named Celeste, devotion, obsession, and even tattoos. At first, listeners assumed it was just dark, artistic storytelling, the kind of raw emotion David was known for. But after the discovery of Celeste's body, every line took on a much darker meaning. The song no longer felt like art. It felt like a clue. Then came screenshots from Discord servers dated back to 2022. Conversations between David and a user named Celeste showed exchanges that, if authentic, were highly inappropriate considering her age. Some messages suggested she was just 11 or 12, while David was 17 or 18. The power imbalance was glaring. This wasn't just casual fan interaction, it looked like calculated influence. Multiple users began stepping forward, claiming they had seen or experienced similar interactions. Social media erupted. Reddit threads, TikTok breakdowns, and Twitter posts began piecing together a timeline that was hard to ignore. Photos emerged showing David and Celeste together in person, even near her family home just days before her disappearance. Every new post, screenshot, and leak pushed the narrative further. David had built a relationship with someone far too young, blurring boundaries in a way that shocked the public. But the online evidence was only half the story. Statements from Celeste's family revealed the strain she endured. Her mother described a girl convinced she was in a genuine relationship, blind to the risks around her. Her brother, Matt Rivas, revealed he had even tried alerting authorities when Celeste first went missing, but was dismissed. The heartbreak, frustration, and missed warning signs added another layer of tragedy to the case. By the time the internet caught wind of all this, it was clear the issue wasn't limited to one individual. People in David's inner circle, friends, moderators, and associates, were accused of knowing about the troubling interactions and staying silent. That silence created a perfect storm, allowing the behavior to go unchecked until it all boiled over. The digital trail wasn't just a collection of posts and messages, it was a roadmap. And for David, that roadmap pointed toward a storm of professional, legal, and social consequences unlike anything he had ever faced before. As the digital evidence and allegations piled up, David's public life began to unravel at lightning speed. Social media, once a platform for connecting with millions of fans, turned into a relentless spotlight on his darkest controversies. Hashtags demanding justice trended globally, while forums, Twitter threads, and TikTok expos dissected every interaction, every lyric, and every photograph tied to Celeste. The internet wasn't just watching, it was judging, and it wasn't letting up. The professional consequences were immediate and severe. Brands that had once proudly partnered with David, from fashion lines to lifestyle campaigns, started cutting ties within days. Crocs, Hollister, and other collaborators quietly removed promotional content, ending contracts without public explanation. Even fellow artists distanced themselves. Kay Uchis pulled their joint work from streaming platforms, signaling to the industry that association with David had become too risky. The message was clear. Anyone still in his corner risked being tainted by the scandal. Fans were divided. Some continued defending David, pointing out that he had been on tour when the Tesla was abandoned, or claiming that lyrics and digital interactions didn't constitute legal evidence. They called the online backlash a trial by internet, citing previous celebrity controversies where speculation outpaced legal outcomes. But the scale of this situation, combined with the victim's age and the chilling details of her death, made it impossible for the public to ignore. The damage to David's reputation was permanent, no matter the outcome of the investigation. Even David's own team appeared to pull back. While representatives issued statements claiming cooperation with authorities, there was no aggressive defense or pushback. The silence was deafening. For someone whose career thrived on social media engagement, personal storytelling, and fan connection, vanishing from public view signaled an industry-wide loss of trust. His social media accounts went dark, tour dates were quietly canceled, and streaming numbers began to plummet. Within 2 weeks of Celeste's identification, a rising career that had exploded in just a few years seemed to be collapsing in real time. The internet didn't stop at professional fallout. Memes and speculation about David's potential prison experience flooded social media. Edits imagined him behind bars, transforming songs like Romantic Homicide into soundtracks for confinement. What started as satire underscored a terrifying reality. Even before any charges, public perception had already convicted him in the court of online opinion. Every post, screenshot, and viral clip reinforced a singular narrative. The David fans once adored was now synonymous with controversy, scandal, and potential criminality. The fallout wasn't just professional, it was cultural, social, and irreversible. His name would forever be linked to one of the most disturbing cases in recent music history, and the consequences were only just beginning to take shape. While the internet debates, memes, and theories rage on, the cold reality that could soon face David is far more dangerous than any online speculation. If the LAPD investigation results in charges, and especially if a conviction follows, his world will shift from sold out arenas and luxury tours to one of the most violent and unforgiving systems in the United States, the Los Angeles County Jail, and eventually California's state prison system. Initially, suspects in serious homicide investigations are held in county facilities like Men's Central Jail or Twin Towers. Overcrowded, chaotic, and notorious for violence, these jails are a far cry from the celebrity bubble David has known. Protective custody might be offered for high-profile inmates, isolating them from the general population, but this is far from a safeguard. Reports show detainees in solitary can spend up to 23 hours a day locked in a cell, facing crushing isolation, anxiety, and depression. For a 20-year-old who spent his life performing on stage, connecting with millions, and living in comfort, the adjustment would be brutal. Once in state prison, the stakes get even higher. California's correctional system is dominated by gang and racial hierarchies. Inmates are segregated along racial lines, but allegiances, rivalries, and prison politics create constant danger. A young, non-gang affiliated celebrity like David would stand out immediately. Prisoners convicted of crimes involving minors are considered the lowest in the hierarchy, often targeted for attacks, extortion, or worse. Even protective custody is no guarantee. High-profile inmates can be harassed, bribed, or physically attacked during movements or transfers. The stakes are more than theoretical. Comparisons to other young artists in legal trouble illustrate just how intense prison life can be. Rappers like YNW Melly, accused of double homicide at 19, have spent years in pre-trial detention facing daily threats, isolation, and psychological deterioration. If David faces similar charges, he could enter a cycle of court delays, confinement, and constant danger that stretches for years, leaving his mental health, career, and future hanging by a thread. Outside prison walls, the cultural consequences are already unfolding. His music is being quietly removed from playlists, venues are canceling shows, and streaming numbers are plummeting. Even if he avoids charges, the stigma of being linked to such a high-profile case would shadow him for the rest of his career. The memes, speculation, and online verdicts may exaggerate reality, but they capture one truth. David's potential prison experience would not just be uncomfortable, it could be life-threatening. For a young artist who rose to fame in just a few years, the transition from the spotlight to the cell block is a stark, almost unimaginable contrast. Every fan interaction, every tour, every lyric suddenly takes on a new, chilling context. In the court of public opinion, David's future behind bars isn't a question of if, it's a question of how dangerous it will be and how he could possibly survive what's coming next. While the investigation continues, one thing is clear: the digital trail connected to David is almost impossible to ignore. In today's world, phones, messages, and even music can speak louder than any alibi. For David, the pieces scattered across his online footprint are painting a picture that has left fans and observers shocked. It began with old leaks and unreleased tracks. Months before Celeste's disappearance, a demo titled Celeste was circulating in underground music circles. The lyrics now seem unsettlingly prophetic. Lines about obsession, devotion, and a girl named Celeste, tied to references like tattoos, have fueled speculation online. What once sounded like creative expression now feels like potential foreshadowing. Fans and true crime followers began dissecting every lyric, connecting dots that authorities couldn't ignore. Then came the messages. Screenshots from Discord servers, social media DMs, and private chats suggested ongoing exchanges between David and a user named Celeste, dating back years. To many observers, the imbalance of power was glaring. A rising star with millions of followers interacting closely with someone much younger. Each message and emoji added to the public's unease, sparking debates across platforms. The story didn't end online. Photos began circulating of David near Celeste's family home in the weeks before she disappeared, suggesting that the connection may have extended beyond digital spaces. When combined with statements from family members and earlier accounts from online communities, a troubling timeline began to emerge. Even more concerning, other individuals started stepping forward with their own stories. From Reddit posts to leaked chats, people described interactions that seemed to follow similar patterns. Insiders and moderators were accused of staying silent or overlooking red flags, creating an environment where these connections could continue unchecked. What began as isolated claims evolved into a wider narrative of secrecy and protection. The accumulation of digital evidence has become overwhelming. Every chat, every post, and every leaked track adds weight to the case. It's a stark reminder that the internet never forgets, and what once felt private can quickly become part of a public timeline. For investigators, this growing archive provides critical insight into the story. For David, these aren't just online rumors, they're digital footprints with the power to define his future. While memes, commentary, and fan defenses dominate social media, the quiet, undeniable reality is that the internet has preserved a record. Every lyric, every message, and every photo is a breadcrumb leading to questions that could determine not just his career, but the course of his entire life. The aftermath of David's scandal is nothing short of catastrophic. His career, once skyrocketing, is collapsing in real time. Brands that once celebrated him, Crocs, Hollister, and others, have severed ties, removing campaigns and content. Streaming platforms quietly bury his music. Playlists that once propelled him to the top now exclude his hits. Even fellow artists are distancing themselves, quietly deleting collaborations and announcing removals from streaming platforms. The very industry that built him up is now abandoning him. Social media has become both courtroom and jury. Memes, speculation, and outraged commentary are relentless, ensuring that the world doesn't just know the allegations, they live with them. Fans are divided, some insisting he couldn't have been involved, others pointing to the age of the victim and the grim evidence as undeniable proof. The public perception of David has shifted from pop sensation to potential predator, a label that will follow him regardless of any legal outcome. His personal life is just as affected. Once active and personable on social media, David has gone silent. No updates, no interactions, no explanations. That absence of communication has only fueled the fire, allowing the public and media to fill in the gaps with the darkest possible assumptions. Where there was music, there is now suspicion. Where there was fame, there is now infamy. The reality is stark. Whether or not charges are ever filed, David's future has already changed irrevocably. His reputation, career, and public image are in ruins. What once was a young star with millions of fans and billions of streams is now a cautionary tale, a figure whose story is dominated by scandal, controversy, and the haunting consequences of alleged actions. For David, the court of public opinion has already rendered its verdict. Fame cannot protect him from the consequences, real or perceived, of a situation that has shaken the music world to its core. His prison cell, whether literal or symbolic, looms large in the collective imagination. And as the investigation continues, one thing is clear: nothing will ever be the same.